Hello. Big D here on a Tuesday night with a little Stanley Cup Final preview on the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Before I tell you about the Stanley Cup Final between the Tampa Bay Lightning and Colorado Avalanche, if anybody is tuning into the stream, please subscribe, like, share this episode and the Spunky Spectrum Sports YouTube page. Also, check out the Big D podcast on Spotify and Apple. We'll be back at it later this week with more episodes. So, while most people will understand I'm a baseball nut, I'm also a hockey nut, and I can't wait to see the Stanley Cup Final starting them all between the Bolts and the Avs because I think it's going to be one of the most competitive, evenly balanced, and exciting Stanley Cup Final we've seen in a long time because we've got two teams that deservedly be here and a ton of stalls on both sides of the ice. First, how about the Tampa Bay Lightning? I didn't think a team could make three consecutive Stanley Cup Finals in the salary cap era. Well, the Tampa Bay Lightning have done it because this is the Bolts' third straight Stanley Cup Final. Obviously, Tampa won the Cup in 2021, and now I've got a chance for three-peat coming off a six-game series with the Rangers. I feel like this Tampa Bay team is just getting better and better because, to be honest, when I saw Tampa play early in the year, early in the playoffs against Toronto, I didn't think the Bolts were going to make it. But yet this team's getting better and better. John Cooper's gotten his troops together, and we're seeing this Bolt team play good, sound defensive hockey. It's good, sound defensive, gritty hockey, which is something you didn't see from this team before 2020. I can remember when Tampa lost that when the Columbus Blue Jackets swept Tampa in 2019, and everyone knew the Lightning needed grit, needed toughness, and needed a little bit of both. Well, the Lightning have got all that and then some. And this team starts with, and most good teams need a goaltender, and I'm not sure if there's anyone better than Andrei Vasilevsky. I mean, do you realize in Tampa's last 8 series victories, the deciding game, he's allowed 2 goals. 2 goals. One was Game 7 against Toronto, and one was Game 6 against New York. Yikes! That guy's unbelievable. And sometimes you see an athlete perform in the big moments, but Andrei Vasilevsky's always there. He's always shining, and you can't beat him. He very rarely lets a soft puck in, and after a few struggles against Toronto and a few more early against New York, we've seen the best goaltender in the world. And to be honest, it's going to be interesting to see how Andrei Vasilevsky tries to shut down the Avs because the Avs have got all kinds of depth everywhere, not just with Nathan McKinnon, Cale McCall, Rantanen, Landeskog, but all kinds of depth. Also playing at altitude, which is going to be fun because the Lightning don't play at altitude much, so we'll see if the altitude becomes a problem. But obviously with a superstar team, you need superstar players, and the Lightning have got a couple of good ones with Steven Stamkos and Nikita Kucherov. How good has Nikita Kucherov been in the playoffs? Seemingly, that guy's scoring everything. Or creating everything. And when you've got 86, 91 on the ice at the same time, good things are going to happen. And for the Bolts, Stammer and Kucherov have just created havoc, created goals, highlights, and plenty of headaches for the defenses. And in this series, Stamkos and Khrushchev going to need their offensive pedigree against the against the NHL's best team, because the Avs are going to make it tough. We know that the Avs can play defense and can not only match the Bolts' athleticism, but maybe even exceed them. But one of the reasons why I'm so excited to see this series, because we get to see arguably the NHL's two best defensemen in Cale McCall for the Avs and Victor Hedman. And it should be illegal that 6'6" defenseman can move like Victor Hedman, but that big guy can move. And for a big guy, he can handle the puck well, more like a winger with his playmaking skills, and he eats up a ton of minutes. Plays in any situation, 5-on-5, power play, penalty kill. Hedman's going to be out there 25, 26 minutes. He's got that veteran savvy, that veteran experience, but he can move well for a big guy. And in this series, Hedman's going to need to be big. But a key question for the Tampa Bay Lightning in this series is the potential return of Braden Point, because I believe Braden Point's potential return is a significant development in this series, because Point hasn't played since injuring his lower body in Game 7 in the first round against Toronto. And despite that, Tampa has won 8 or 10 games that Braden Point missed. But, we've seen guys not play in 10, 15 games and come back and not look the same. With Braden Point coming back from a leg injury and playing at altitude, you wonder what kind of an impact he'll have. You wonder whether or not John Cooper will put him on the top line. Does he want to separate Stamkos, Khrushchev, and Palat? Will Braden Point still be in the top power play line? We'll see tomorrow night, because that is going to be a key. Another key in this series will the check-in trio of Anthony Cirelli, Alex Killorn, and Brendan Hagel be able to shut down arguably one of not the NHL's fastest players, because we saw in the last round against New York where Cirelli, Hagel, and Killorn did a great job in limiting Sabanija and Chris Kreider 5-on-5. The Rangers possess a great power play. But you know what? Cirelli's line did a great job of minimizing any impact 5-on-5, and basically sort of hampered New York's ability to score. Because you look at the first game and a half or so, New York dominated, and even Game 3, the Rangers were up 2-0, but the Lightning just kept fighting back and didn't allow really any in the last 3 games. Despite New York getting a goal in third period of Game 6, I think most people could admit that the Lightning were going to win. It's not a question of if, it's a question when the Bolts would score. But another key in this series is going to be Ryan McDonough, because there's plenty of offensive talent, but you need somebody that will sacrifice his body, or block shots, log heavy minutes on the back end. And Ryan McDonough's not the sexiest player, but brings a lot of grit, a lot of sandpaper, and willing to throw his body around the ice. I mean, he's got what? I think McDonough leads all NHL players, not just active, but all time in playoff block shots. Playoff block shots. Not bad. Not bad. So he's going to be flying. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets a lot of McKinnon in this series. Maybe not in Game 1, because with the Avs having home ice, We'll see what how the Avalanche match up against the two-time defending Stanley Cup champs. And now the Avalanche. Oof. This feels a little like '96 when the Avs faced the Florida team. That being the Florida Panthers, of course. But the Colorado Avalanche have been knocking on the heel of a Stanley Cup final. I mean, it's a question of when, not if, these guys would play for Lord Stanley's Cup. But to be honest, I love watching the Avs play. Even though I am a Bolt fan at heart, I love watching the Avs play. I think they can bring so much energy, can score from anywhere, and I'm not sure how you defend him because of his speed, his athleticism, can win faceoffs, and wait till the Avs on the power play because you get McKinnon on the ice with Landeskog, Rantanen, and Cale McCall. Those guys are lethal, and I can't wait. But Cale McCall may be my favorite player to watch because how often do you see a 22, 22, 3-year-old player take over the NHL like he can? I mean, Cale McCall is 23 and feels like he's been playing like 10 years with how he skates. And I don't think there's an NHL there's a defenseman right now with his kind of athleticism, offensive puck handling, or defense or speed. And really, Cale McCall is just getting better and better every time. Certain Norris Trophy candidate, not just now, but for years to come. I mean, we'll see in a couple of weeks whether or not he wins him because Roman Yossi of the Nashville Predators put up an unbelievable year. But despite me loving Victor Hedman, I think McCall is the best defenseman in the league, and I am scared to death of facing. I'm not usually scared about facing defenseman, but with McCall, I think the whole world will soon find out how good this kid is. And I feel like an unsung hero for this Colorado Avalanche team. It's been Kempner because we've seen the Avs struggle with injuries, particularly in the playoffs. Seems like they get it. The Avs have gotten injuries at the worst time. But Dawson Kempner solidified the number one spot. I mean, sure, he didn't finish the Oil series, but I think, especially with this long break that the Avs got, he'll be back in there tomorrow night in Denver. And I think his play is going to be big because we've seen what Vasilevsky can do on the other side. Can Kempner match the rate, arguably the best goalie in the world? So it's going to be interesting to see what happens there. Can Kemper match or potentially beat Vasilevsky? Because if the Avs win that battle, they're probably going to win the series. Because obviously the Lightning have got a couple guys there. Speaking of injuries, a couple key injuries for the Avs. Obviously, Sam Girard is out for the postseason, but Andrew Higliano and Nelson Kadri are both iffy, potentially to even play in this series, and both of them could potentially be big because, yeah, Kadri's not on the first line, but he can be a big pain in the you know what. I mean, he's been suspended on multiple occasions, but this year he's really scored a lot of big goals and delivering a lot of big hits. And a little like Anthony Cirelli, you need that tough guy. And I feel like Kadri, if he's playing right at the breaking point, can be a real game changer and bring a lot of energy. But if he's over, Calvary can get himself in trouble and end up missing games. Now, we'll see whether or not he plays, and I feel like Leonard's another key guy because the Avs have gotten so much depth. The Avs have been great with McKinnon, Landeskog, Rantanen, but it just needed depth. Well, now that Joe Sakic has built the depth, the question is, will the Avs need that depth, or potentially will those guys play? Does experience matter? Yes, I think experience matters, especially if you've played in 2 straight Stanley Cup Finals. Because the Tampa Bay Lightning know what this round is. They've been through it many, many times. A lot of them have won at least one, if not 2 cups, and some of them were even in the 2015 team that lost to the Chicago Blackhawks. But I think experience matters, particularly when you know what the situation is. The Lightning won't be intimidated playing a Game 1, a Game 5, or Game 7 in Denver. While the Avs haven't been to the Stanley Cup Final in 21 years, a lot of these guys have not played a big moment, and it may be new, and it may be a little bit of a challenge, and I'm thinking we've got to face the defending Stanley Cup champs. Plus, we saw in the last round against New York, Tampa came off, an 8-9 day break and looked very rusty. Colorado Avalanche swept the Edmonton Oilers in the Western Conference Finals. So they're coming off a long break. So will rustiness play a factor tomorrow night? And I feel like if the Lightning are going to get a foothold in the series, they've got to win one of these first 2 games. Because I don't think the Lightning can overcome a 2-0 deficit against this team. The Avs are way too talented, way too deep. And I think winning the Game 5 or Game 7 in Denver will be very, very difficult. I don't think you can beat this team 2-3 times on the road in a 7-game series. So it's going to be interesting. And also, there's an interesting story. While he may not be the best player on either team in this series, Pat Maroon's got a chance at more history. Because obviously Tampa's playing in his 3rd straight cup, and Maroon's been there for all 3 times. But Maroon's won 15 straight playoff series because he was on the St. Louis Blues team that won the 2019 Stanley Cup over the Boston Bruins, and then won the last 2 cups with the Bolts. So maybe Pat Maroon's the good luck charm. Maybe he's the good luck charm of this era. Any team that he's playing on will probably win the cup. Yeah. I mean, and one more about the Lightning. I mean, we've seen dynasties in sports. I mean, we've seen the Yankees win 3 straight World Championships, late 90s, early 2000s. The New England Patriots won 6 Super Bowls with Bill Belichick and Tom Brady. We've seen in the NBA the LA Lakers win back-to-back titles multiple occasions. The Spurs dominant stretch. The Heatles. Now with the Golden State Warriors. In hockey, you may get back-to-back champs. I mean, the Penguins won back-to-back in 91, 92, and then the last decade, we've seen the Kings win 2012 and 14, the Blackhawks win 3 and 6. But you don't see teams win back-to-back titles, particularly in the salary cap era, because usually it is so difficult to win 3 straight titles because you lose assistant coaches, you lose players. I think of Tampa's outstanding 3rd line from the last 2 final runs. Yanni Gourde was picked by the Seattle Kraken in the expansion draft. Blake Coleman signed a free agent deal with the Calgary Flames, and Balky Goodrow was signed and traded to the New York Rangers. So things change. Even players change. Did anybody think that Mikhail Sergachev would become a hero in Game 5 against New York? No, but speaking of heroes, Andre Palat's been a hero with 11 game winning postseason goals, and while Palat may not be the biggest goal scorer the Lightning have, his unselfishness could be big because you see Palat play in every situation. He'll play 5-on-5, some power play, maybe even a penalty kill here and there. But he does a lot of gritty sandpaper work, sets up Kucherov and Stamkos for a lot of goals, and we even seen Palat score a bunch of big goals. And it's not always what you do in the regular season, but what happens in the playoffs. And Andre Palat could be huge in this series because if the Lightning score some clutch goals, it's probably Andre Palat. So, be honest, I think this series is going to be tight. I hope the Bolts win, but I mean, if I'm a betting man, I think the Avs go into this series as the favorite. Fletcher team, even though they lack the experience, I think playing Game 1 in Denver, the altitude, that place is going to be so crazy tomorrow night, and we'll see whether or not Taylor McCall's speed can hurt the Lightning, or will the Lightning minimize McCall's speed? Because if McCall's going, I'm not sure how the Lightning match him and McKinnon, but it's going to be fun. I can't wait to see the series, and it's a different series because we've seen it's not two dislike team. Two teams we love to see. I think you've got maybe the two-time reigning champs and maybe the next dynasty in the Colorado Avalanche. So we'll see what happens in the Stanley Cup Final. It's going to bring a lot of excitement, and whether you're in Denver or Tampa, one of these cities is going to celebrate a Stanley Cup Final in just a few short weeks. So thanks for tuning in to Big D's Stanley Cup Final preview, and can't wait to see what this happens. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it.